Hello and welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. I am your host, Lauren. Today, I want to talk about something that it actually just happened yesterday, but as part of a longer journey over the last few weeks that I thought was pretty potent and definitely it drew my attention to something I wasn't aware of. I thought I was, but in that moment it was like, oh wow, I see I'm still doing this, and gave me an opportunity to just kind of look at it and then have different results. So over the last 5 weeks, I've been in a program that is very much about identity, what identity is, and what it's made up of, and how we actually shift and change it because I think, kind of mainstream. We just feel like if we take different actions, we try and force these changes, right? But there's always an undercurrent in our subconscious as part of our subconscious beliefs. And if we don't actually become aware of what is driving the thoughts, emotions, and feelings that we have that then drive our actions that then create our results, if we don't get to the root of it, trying to change our actions from an energy that isn't in alignment with where we want to go, it just ends up feeling like force and we just end up burning out. So it's been an eye opener and a really interesting philosophy and way of looking at things and learning to do things differently. And there's a lot of healing that's required along the way. We have to acknowledge those parts of us. Where does it stem from? We have to love on it. We have to forgive it. We have to accept it. We don't need to change it. We just need to accept where we are and how that identity has brought us to where we are now, and do the work that we need to do to let it go. That's a whole other topic. Along the way, and the other thing with this program is we choose an area of life we want to filter this information through, right? And we get lifetime access so we can go back through and then filter it through different parts of life. Well, I chose health and body. And especially, like, I've talked openly about how uncomfortable I've been feeling since all of the stuff that happened last year and how dysregulating it was. And I definitely used food as, like, emotional support, and it didn't, and because I wasn't moving, I was very stagnant and just sleeping a lot. I packed on a lot of weight. So I'm ready to, like, shed that and go into this next chapter of life. And what I actually found myself talking about in one of our group calls yesterday, when we were talking about, like, how things have been, how are we feeling, blah blah blah. Um, I ended up kind of like, I wasn't on my own team, and I was talking about how I I did a lot of the release work and stuff, and really wanting to listen to my body. I have been listening to my body when I do my movement. For the most part, it's felt more like doing some yoga, nothing like super intense, but challenging my body. I haven't felt the nudge to do as much like cardio and hit yet, but I think there's something to be said about when our nervous system was so dysregulated for so long that we need to kind of just like bring it back to a healthy place. We need to create that safety, that capacity within it. So then when we want to kick it up a notch, our body's able to like handle the extra stress hormones that we're putting in it. When we get our heart rate up, it's essentially the same as being in a stressful situation, right? That stress response, you've got adrenaline and cortisol running through your body when you get your heart rate up so that it can like optimize the exercise that you're doing. But in the same breath, if you were running away from a tiger or something, imminent danger, your body would be doing the same thing. So our body doesn't know the difference between I'm exercising and I'm running away from something that could kill me, is putting out the same things. And when we especially when life's like really turbulent and we have that, like, the stress hormones just kind of like flowing through us in a maybe a more subtle level. We're not totally conscious of it because we're not in like imminent danger mode, like feeling that way all the time, but it's like a low grade. It just it hinders our ability to do things, right? It hinders digestion, it hinders all it, like a lot of those processes. And so for me in my journey, having been dysregulated for a while, and I did a lot of care. I used my soul care tool, like my soul care tool belt and all my tools. But what I noticed through this process is I was focusing on my mind and my soul, and I abandoned my body. I wasn't moving it, I wasn't nourishing it. So that was a big aha and eye-opening moment for me when I realized that. And that was part of like letting go. I didn't shame myself over it. I just had that realization of, oh, this is what I did and this is the result it created. So going forward, I have to remind myself, love myself, forgive myself, and make sure that I know that my body still deserves being taken care of along with my mind and my soul. The three go together. And getting back into movement, it's been nice. It's been like sustainable. It hasn't felt like too much. Like I said, I'm not gonna rush into hit. It's not like an all for nothing, all or nothing situation where if I don't go hardcore, then I'm not doing anything at all. I have had to really be mindful of that mindset because sometimes I can be really hard on myself and like want to do the intense thing and like go all the way. And it's been really a journey and a very humbling experience to really slow down and reevaluate everything and do something that feels really nourishing and really focus on my body and what it's asking for. And lately it's been yoga. Now, in the last couple of weeks, with my schedule and things going on, I was at a scrapbooking retreat with my sister-in-law. I felt like being totally present with her. I didn't want to like pop off and be like, oh, I'm just gonna go do some yoga. I didn't want to. I just wanted to be in the room with her as much as possible. And I've also got a bunch of other projects I'm working on, right? So I've been having a hard time like along the journey as I kind of it's because it's not necessarily just like a light switch, right? We want to shift this identity into something new, which creates new results. But along the way, we have to take the new action. We have to learn and integrate it, embody it, make it our new lifestyle. It doesn't just happen overnight. So something I've been struggling a little bit, like, well, not a little bit, a lot some days, to really prioritize that movement. Now, when I'm at home and I'm on a day off and things are a little bit less structure, like there's things I need to do, but I have more flexibility within the day. It's a lot easier. When I'm away from home, it's really hard. And when I'm popping down to my mom's or seeing my granny and taking Darla appointments and all the things that have been going on, it just like throws me off so much. I just like to be home for the day. And so I need to learn how to make sure that I can build the movement into whatever I'm doing for the day. But at the same time, if the day just doesn't go the way it's planned and I'm like super exhausted and I really, even going for a walk, I just want to go to bed early, tuning in and listening to my body. So the point I want to make here is when we were talking about this call, I hadn't moved my body like intentionally. I hadn't done any yoga or gone on a long walk in like a week, I guess, because we were at the retreat basically 3 days. That was 3 days gone. And then I started back to work and just a whole thing. And I was kind of being hard on myself in the meeting or in the call, just in terms of what did I say? I kind of mentioned like um I was being a little bit hard on myself, just that I wasn't what's the best way to say that? I just wasn't prioritizing it. It's like I set this intention, I want to do this course through this lens, and I'm not prioritizing it. And basically, I'm not doing the things. And so I was kind of like getting a little bit upset at myself about it. And at the same time, it's like, well, it's a journey. You're not going to get it perfect the first time when your default identity is to like, do whatever and you're trying to like shift it, you have to go through that kind of messy transition and it's not going to be perfect by any means. And there's just going to be days or weeks or whatever that just doesn't really work out. The important thing for me, now that I'm looking at it from a wider perspective, has been brought to my attention, is to just continue to be mindful of like what's my priority and how can I make this work on the days that it works well for me, and just trying my best because that's all we can do, right? If there's days where it just doesn't work out, hey, but if it's been like a week and it's like, okay, maybe I need to, how can I be more intentional this coming week without being mad at previous week me, if that makes sense. It's been a beautiful awakening, I guess you could say. And so this call was yesterday. We did some emotional freedom technique, which is aka tapping, emotional release stuff. It was really beautiful. And I woke up this morning. I had to do a couple intuitive readings for the Soul Care Tool Belt course, Build Your Care Tool Belt. The pre-work went out yesterday. I was really excited. Our first call is on Wednesday to do module 1. I'm so excited to see how this pans out and then like what I'm gonna run next. I'm very much like I'm ready to spread my wings, be who I am, stand in my own light and shine it and start sharing more of my gifts. I've been working on intuitive stuff and it's been like, oh, so amazing. The feedback I get back is like, wow, it's been so beautiful and just like beyond my own comprehension. Um, Anyway, I just went off on a side tangent, but so I woke up, I had to do those intuitive readings, basically record the podcast as I'm doing right now because I'm a bit behind. But again, like I said, I didn't even have time. I didn't make time for movement last week, so I didn't get my podcast scheduled. So I'm doing it right now. But I woke up and I had a call at 11 that I had to tune into for this program. It's the last module. And then I thought, okay, then I'll do my yoga, move my body, get some energy moving, connect back with my body, then it's easier to tap into your intuition and do that type of stuff. And when I got downstairs or when I was about to get changed, I had this like urge of like maybe some treadmill stuff today. So I put some socks on. I normally don't put socks on for yoga. Put some socks on, put my shoes on, got on the treadmill, and I put on this session that I left off with the last time I did a jog run thing towards the like Couch to 5K runner app. And I thought I feel like this is probably going to be a bit daunting, but I'll see how far I get. I probably got about 3/4 of the way. Yes, it was about 21 minutes, and I think it was around 30 or 34, so maybe just a little over halfway. But I was feeling exhausted, and I just thought I could push through. I could force myself to push through, but it didn't feel good for my body. And honestly, it's actually for part of me, it's actually easier to push through and force myself to do it than it is to just surrender and say, hey, my body's had enough. 20 minutes is good enough for me today. And I stopped the thing. It didn't save my progress. And I was like, I'll come back to it. And on a day that I feel able to do the full 34 minutes or whatever, then I'll get to save it. And in the meantime, I can just chip away and just do what feels good. What I felt really called to after was getting on my yoga mat. Normally, I stretch after I do a jog and walking. I decided to do a yoga with Adrienne day because I'm still working on the 30 days. She did the 30 days in January. I'm on day 27 and I've been working at it just like piecemeal when I have the time, when my body's saying, hey, let's do some movement. Let's get on the mat. You got, half hour or whatever. Sometimes I'll do 2 days. Sometimes I'll do one. Sometimes I don't do any. I felt called to get on my mat, started the practice, was really good. Then she got into some more intense stuff. And I was just like, you know what? what would feel really good for my body right now is just kind of like rolling around, being a bit in child's pose and just kind of leaning side to side, maybe going on my back and doing some windshield wipers with my legs and my knees kind of back and forth. What I ended up doing is um I decided not to follow the end of today. That's also hard for me because I always feel like I have to stick something out to the end, and it's learning that you don't have to. You can always come back. Either pick up where you left off or start from the beginning again. There will be a day that I don't run and I'll just want to do yoga. So I'll do the full thing and I'll just go back to day 27 and complete it. So I turned off Adrian, yoga with Adrian, and I just rolled around on the mat a little bit. I think I did I did, what is it? Pigeon pose. That's one of my favorites. It's to get a nice deep stretch in the hips. I find that I hold a lot of stress and emotions in my hips. So especially with running and jogging and stuff, you can get tight hips and such with that, right? So I felt really nice. That's kind of my go-to when I'm winding down and I need to, like, a big deep stretch. And it also just like brings you right into your back into your body. When you're in a deep stretch, you don't want pain, otherwise you need to ease like back out of it. But just it gets you in that space of like it feels uncomfortable and you have to breathe through it. That's a resilience practice. That's like a really easy way to build your resilience is finding something that's uncomfortable and breathing your way through it, as long as it's not painful, because yoga shouldn't be painful, but it can be uncomfortable. So I did pigeon pose of both my legs, and in between did like a nice long downward dog where I was kind of like, they call it like bike pedaling your feet kind of thing. You're just like stretching and it just felt nice. And then when I was done, it's just like, okay, my body's good. And I've been feeling great ever since. And it was just a good lesson of not just a reminder to let go of the expectations of what we think it should look like when we're trying to move into a new identity, a new way of being, to create new results, and just give yourself grace along the way. That was my reminder yesterday. Give myself more grace because I've been doing a pretty good job, but sometimes we need the reminder because those when we're rewiring our brains, especially when like the longer we've had these beliefs and stuff about ourselves, the self-talk, the like it makes it harder to rewire it because those things that are like it's like a highway that's been like paved and it is set. So to try and when you start to manipulate it and change it so that you can go onto a different path, there's resistance there, right? And you kind of just default because it's the brain's easiest way. It takes the least amount of energy because it's just like the autopilot response, right? So we have to just be mindful. So it's nice. I've been doing like being in programs, investing in this stuff for a year or more. And that's one of the benefits. People in the containers, the mentor can point those things out and remind you lovingly about what's going on, kind of identify it as someone who's can take a step back and is impartial and just help to guide. So I just felt so much love and a reminder yesterday and I was like, okay, yep, that's good. I needed that. And it was just it's an accountability too. So anywho, I'm gonna get this edited and posted. What's coming up? The 14th, I think. Let me just check my calendar really quick. Where are we? Yes. So this Thursday, we are doing our monthly masterclass in the Living on Lemonade group. It is about, I called it Spring into Action. I basically repurposed a graphic that I did for a different subject. This one is about I kind of put a call out in my group and some really nice responses, but motivation, kind of what holds us back and how we can kind of get back some of the motivation in the spring when we want to do spring cleaning or this or that. We're going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit of mindset stuff and some tips to help overcome our own programming and brain and just some awareness about that. Obviously, it's a deeper topic. There's more work to be done, but when we can start to become aware of these things, then we can dive deeper and actually do the work. And on the 24th, Sunday the 24th, will be the soul care hour. That's just an hour if you want some community, you want some support. Bring a project, do a face mask, do your nails, bring a crochet project. We'll just sit and chit chat. It's kind of just like an hour to connect with others. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. I think that's pretty much it for now that the soul care course is underway. But once it's finished, I'll get the feedback and perhaps run it again. We'll see what's next. Anywho, I hope everyone has a wonderful week and we'll see you inside the next episode. Bye, everyone.